This is the New American Media. Broadcasting to you, live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles, to be specific. If you have one of those little maps, you're going to put the little pin in there to mark the place where you've been. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Agree to Disagree here on thenewamericanmedia.com. I am your host, Brian Engelman. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. I appreciate each and every one of you. Special thanks to Rob Troutman for joining us on our episode of The Unhappy Hour. He's the host of Sports on Tap, and we talked about, well, Cleveland Browns football. And we're going to be bringing in special guest Blake the Eccentric Walley. He's a radio host and a buddy of mine. Got the chance to spend some time with him the other day over in Las Vegas, Nevada. So we're going to bring him in just a second. So real quick, if you have not checked out our homepage, please do so, thenewamericanmedia.com. On Facebook, we have great content. And by the way, they censor content, so you got to occasionally comment on the posts, or else you stop getting them. It's really weird, and I'm looking for a better service to use, frankly. It's pretty dumb. Sorry, Facebook. I know you're listening and monitoring all my calls, despite what President Obama said, that they're changing the NSA. No. Nah, not so much. Yeah, but Facebook is weird, but we put amazing content on there, so please check it out. Follow, go do a search, The New American Media with spaces in between, and then like our page. A lot of good stuff on there. Twitter, lots of good stuff there. Follow us at American_media_, and check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The New American Media. So something I like to do at the end of the week is to bring in Blake the Eccentric Walley, and we go through our top news stories of the week, things you might have missed if you have been busy living your life. So let's bring him into the show.
Hello.
Blake, you are live on Agree to Disagree. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I am doing excellent, Brian. How are you?
Oh, living the dream. I can't disappoint you and say something different. I know, shocking.
I know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. But, welcome back. And, I told everybody about the fact that you do radio, but why don't you tell them about your show, where you do it, how they can stay connected with you, and then let's kind of go through the top news stories of the week, the things we might have missed if we were busy living our lives, shall we?
Right. Well, I do a little show on freedomizerradio.com. You can find the podcast at iTunes. It's called The Eccentric Perspective. And I do that show Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 to 1:30 Pacific. And you can call in live at that time and interact with me and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, that's a good spot. Or, get the podcast. That way you can, you don't have to be there at the time. You can listen to it at your leisure. All right.
And you do stuff on Twitter, right? Something on Twitter?
Yeah, that's where I'm the most active on social media. That's because I do have a website that I don't use as often as I'd like or update as often as I'd like, but I always keep my Twitter feed going nearly every day. I'm always putting out some of what I feel are some of the top stories of that particular day. Not necessarily the huge headline stories that everyone's covering, but maybe some of the other stuff that gets a little bit less noticed, but just as important.
And where do they find you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. That would be Eccentric99, ECCENTRIC 99, and you can follow me there and all the craziness that goes on. So,
absolutely, yeah,
highly recommended.
You enjoy the Twitter fights from time to time.
Always. It's a great source because you can interact with. It's kind of what's been referred to as the great equalizer. I think Greg Gutfeld said that. I heard him say it on Red Eye, and it's very true. So it allows allows you to, interact with, say, a particular writer or, people you agree or disagree with, and to engage in conversations. For example, I tend to disagree sometimes with the coverage on some of the quote-unquote phony scandals going on in the world today, and if I find somebody who I think is a hack or a propagandist or a shill who's just, working for the company and not necessarily out to be giving us some honest reporting, then, I'm not afraid to, jump in the ring and call them out directly. And in fact, yes, I've already done that a couple of times today. So it can be good fun. So just trying to keep the media honest, and that it applies to me. So we're all trying to find the truth and stuff. So it's quite the interesting program. This Twitter, it's catching on, Brian. And yeah, you know what? You're actually the one who got me into that Twitter.
I did. I was the pusher. I said, "Come on, man! Everyone's doing it. Hey, dude, I'll even set your account up for free. No big deal, man. Just come on, get this. Everyone's doing it, man. Get set up. I'll even set your account up for free, man. Just come back and tweet me back when you get things up and rolling, all right?"
Right, and Brian, you created a monster. So there's a lot of people out there that would. Sure, they would never have wanted me to get involved at all.
I don't know that I created the monster. I would just say that I gave the monster a megaphone. That's all.
All right, fair enough.
No, but definitely follow him at Eccentric99. Out of the things that have come across your desk this week, what's jumping to your attention? Because nobody scours the news. What is that, like squirrel nut zippers or weasel zippers? Their catchphrase is
terrible ska band.
I kind of liked one of those songs. No, one of them it's something about scouring the bowels of the internet is their tagline, something like that. But nobody.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Nobody.
Maybe, yeah, it's weasel zippers. I think, right? That's its little outlet.
Sounds about right. But I mean, nobody looks around and I was just watching a show on DIY Network where they empty garages for free, but they get to keep what they find, and then they fix it up into a usable space. You dig through boxes and boxes of garage, and you find the stories worth covering. So,
Yeah, I mean, I have my major sources, but some of them are, use a lot of different content, not just their own. I do have, I guess you could say I'm kind of obsessed with the news and the media. That's like I look forward to going to bed and waking up and getting all the new news. I'm always excited to roll out of bed and have a cup of coffee and pull up the Drudge Report and get on Twitter and look at all the crazy news that's going on in the world. And it's certainly been exciting to follow the last few years for sure. So I'm a big news junkie. So
well, what's
gotta get my fix.
What would you say is what are some of the good ones that you found? And not it doesn't need to be a good story, but what are some of the most important, relevant, and thought-provoking stories you've discovered this week?
Well, let's see here. It was a pretty good week this week. I think last week was sort of the Christie Bridge Gates kind of over the weekend, and then this week. Recap
the Chris Christie thing for people that are totally oblivious. They took
you
the
would
bait.
have to be living under a rock, but that's
under
okay.
a bridge. Under a bridge.
Under a bridge
hey.
at the Jersey Turnpike. There you go.
No, but some people might have come over here from my the Unhappy Hour show, just all sports, and I encourage them to swing by. So maybe this is their first episode meeting you, or they really just watch ESPN, and that's about it. So you never know. The Chris Christie thing, sum it up in a couple sentences then.
All right, so Chris Christie allegedly, maybe his aides had something to do with shutting down some traffic to a bridge, bringing it to a standstill for a few days. Some say it was perhaps political retribution because of a mayor at that city, I think it's Fort Lee, who decided that they did not want to endorse Christie when he ran for when he got reelected last November. And there's also another theory put out by Rachel Maddow has something to do with with the Supreme Court over there in Jersey as well. And it does seem I'm not a big fan of Maddow per se, but I think she put up a pretty good theory on that. I don't know if I can repeat exactly the specifics of it, but there might be more to this story. Christie, obviously, I think he probably did have something to do with it. It seems like, it doesn't seem that far-fetched or anything, or that his aides would, do this, without him knowing anything about it. So, but yeah, it was a big enough story. But it also, at the same time, the issue is it kind of exposed the hypocrisy of the left-wing media, the real, bought and paid for collaborator media, who acts like the Obama scandals are all phony, whether that's, Benghazi, Fast and Furious, or NSA, or am I already forgetting? There's so many scandals sometimes I can't name them all.
Obamacare. But, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, period. And I've lost both.
Right.
No, both were stolen.
IRS, but yeah.
IRS, yeah.
But yeah, those are all phony, but then they just go nuts over this Christie thing, which by comparison is not even, it's really a joke. Even though I do believe that, Christie probably is a thug, and, they can investigate, and I don't have an issue with that, but, I try to be, where I'm independent and try to be intellectually honest and go after the truth, I don't have an agenda. I'm not, paid by one of these media outlets and controlled by what I can say with editors over me that control everything. So, it's a different story, but that's kind of where it kind of got the burn, is because it was like, hey, why are you guys going after Christie here? And you didn't say you hardly said anything about Benghazi or the IRS, and you're acting like they're phony scandals. So that was the interesting note of that. So, of course, there's been a lot more Benghazi news this week, some developments there. As well as on the NSA front, the IRS front. So yeah, it seems like the Obama scandals got a little bit more attention after the Christie thing kind of flamed out a little bit for now.
Well, speaking of flamed out a little bit, there's something I found. This is a story that caught my attention a little while ago. This is a man is set to get $1.6 million for humiliating 3 enema ordeal after a traffic stop. Did you hear this update, that this was settled now? Or at least part of it was settled, Blake?
Is the New Mexico case?
A city and county in New Mexico have agreed to settle for $1.6 million, which is their portion of litigation brought by an arrestee who said he was subjected to a humiliating hospital anal exam involving 3 enemas, a colonoscopy, and more after a traffic stop last year. The city of Deming and Hidalgo County got a search warrant to authorize the examination of David Eckert after he was pulled over for failing to yield to a stop sign when exiting a parking lot. Oh my God, because of not stopping, leaving a private parking lot. On January 2nd, it was based on a police dog's alert to the alleged presence of drugs near the driver's seat of his vehicle, and a claim that Eckert appeared to be clenching his buttocks, according to the Associated Press and Forbes. However, the warrant was valid only in Luna County, and a physician at a Deming emergency room refused to perform the examination. Hooray. Eckert alleges in his suit, which was filed in federal court in New Mexico, doctors at a second hospital, Gila, like Gila Munster? GILA Regional Medical Center, agreed to perform the exam, but the facility is located in Silver City, which is across the county line. Despite the exam, no drugs were found on Eckert or in his vehicle. It was medically unethical and unconstitutional, his lawyer Shannon Kennedy told the Associated Press. He feels relieved that this part is over and believes the litigation might make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. And Eckert's suits also named Gila Regional Medical Center and the doctors who performed the exam as defendants in that portion of the case is ongoing. So this is just yet another example of police overreach, and they're paying for it.
Well, yeah, no, that has a happy ending, and I'm glad you shared that story, Brian, because, I was just incredibly outraged by that when I heard it, and there was a couple other cases that came to light as well from that. Yeah, they just had a traffic stop, and for all we know, he was, getting interrogated by the officer, or maybe the officer was asking him a couple questions, and Maybe he just had to fart or something, and then he was kind of clenching his butt, and then all of a sudden, they said, "Hey, maybe looks like you're holding back drugs or whatever." So yeah, I've got to haul him down to the hospital and had the doctors give him three enemas or whatever right in front of the cops and the doctors. And they still couldn't find anything, so then they had to go in there with a colonoscopy and do X-rays, and they still couldn't find anything. Then they sent him home and gave him like a $6,000 bill. And so it's just like, what? So, good for him. It was a humiliating experience, but he, got a lawyer, fought back, and he was rewarded for him. So good for him, and I hope the police, no, I don't want to have an issue with the police. There's some bad cops out there, but hopefully they learned a lesson. You can't let that kind of stuff fly in the United States, where that's not what our country's all about. So, it's a good thing that was exposed, and yeah, it had a great ending. So, good stuff.
Absolutely. I'm going to avoid making any of the 26 jokes I'm thinking of here. But yeah, I like that he was given a $6,000 bill. He's like, I will see.
Come on, Brian.
I will see your $6,000 and raise you $1.6 million, good sir.
Right. Oh, I think you got some good poop or fart jokes for us.
No, that'd be a crappy thing to do. Moving on. All right.
Try to. Okay, there you go.
All right. What else you got? Let's play tennis. I'm gonna hit it back over to your side of the court.
All right, well, the big story today, of course, Obama getting in front of making a speech, I guess, towards the Justice Department or something, about the NSA programs. And, so I guess he finally had to respond, although it doesn't look like we really got the kind of response that we were hoping for. I'm looking at a Mediaite article in front of me with Glenn Greenwald, who is on... looks like Jake Tapper, saying he was bashing Obama's NSA speech as trivial reforms and more fear-mongering. So it had very kind of similar stuff set out by Rand Paul and Julian Assange and many others weighing in. So you got journalist Glenn Greenwald joined CNN's Jake Tapper on Friday to react to President Obama's big speech announcing NSA reforms. And whereas Greenwald previewed the speech as a PR gesture, his post-speech take was, largely the same. He said Obama's call to change the way phone metadata is collected is just a trivial piece of reform that doesn't address any of the real problems people have with NSA surveillance. So, here I'll give you one more little paragraph.
Yeah, because I thought everything's cool now. The president is going to make some changes, right? It's not like he increased this under his watch.
Apologized for the NSA, apologized for the inconvenience, and now they're going to cut the agency in half and put it under oversight by neutral parties, non-political. Actually, they put in John Podesta today. We can get to that, perhaps. So here's the quote from Greenwald, who says to Jake Tapper, "We could eliminate all sorts of crimes, Jake, like rape and murder and kidnapping and pedophilia, if we just do away with the requirement that police officers first get a search warrant before entering our house, or if we let the government put video cameras in all of our homes and offices and watch what we're doing all the time. We make the choice that we'd rather not do that, because we'd rather live with the greater risk of crime than let the government invade our privacy." So, yeah, interesting. I could tie up one more. Greenwald also said Obama was engaging in fear-mongering, noting that this is the same man who used to routinely mock the Bush administration officials who said basically the same thing about keeping the country safe. So, yeah, Brian, I just think that maybe it's a good idea. I think we should just get rid of all of the guns, and then we could put video cameras in everyone's houses, and then we can eliminate all crime.
Minority Report, 1984. What else? What else does that remind us of?
Definitely 1984, yeah. I don't know, maybe the V for Vendetta, they didn't really have cameras per se in the house. But, yeah, that seemed like kind of a police state. I'm guessing there weren't any guns available as well.
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
So the
they're
president,
kind of
the same one,
country.
the same one that says if you like your doctor, you can keep him. If you like your insurance plan, you can keep it. Period. The one that lied and stole both of those from me. Now we're supposed to trust him that, no, I've totally expanded the NSA under my watch, and yes, I've used that information to target my political enemies with the enforcement arm of the IRS. No, those are phony scandals, and trust me, we're totally going to take care of it and make sure the NSA isn't doing any more bad stuff that I've authorized them to do and instructed them to do. By the way, don't even pay any attention to the fact that I signed the National Defense Authorization Act into law. And what was that emergency response bill? What was the name of that one where it says we can seize anything, anywhere, anytime for any reason? Remember that one? That Obama?
I can't remember. It gets just lost in the shuffle with all this stuff. So
it's insane. So we're just supposed to trust him. So we're supposed to trust him and take his word that everything's going to be solid from here on out, right? That's the gist of this?
Absolutely. Yes, he's building towards the making the office a dictatorship. You know, Congress is becoming irrelevant. So I don't know. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Hey, okay, something you might need to do. Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Do you have Siri available?
Yeah, you want me to ask her a question?
Yeah, can you do that on the air?
Sure.
or can I ask her? Can she hear me?
I don't know if it'll go that. You could try it. I'll pull her up.
Yeah, let's go. Tell me when I'm ready.
All right, right now.
Siri, what are your political views?
Okay, I think we got messed up. Say that again.
Siri, what are your political views? Yeah, Blake, can you ask her, please?
I've heard this. I've actually I've done this trick before.
Well, let's see. Hold on. Yeah, let's try it.
She said, "What was that again?" She can't hear you through the mic. So I'll say her. Siri, what are your political views?
Human systems of government are a mystery to me, and to many humans, it seems.
Oh, she changed it.
Wow, yeah, it used to be Ron Paul. She didn't answer the question. She would just put up you get a little picture of Ron Paul to his Wikipedia page. So I guess the establishment didn't like that, so they had to change that, and perhaps somebody at Apple got a little demotion. Who knows?
Fantastic. Well, anyway, that was just another story I found over here on benswan.com, a guy that you've interviewed and I've interviewed as well. He does good stuff. Of course, I've been following the Kelly Thomas murder trial by the Fullerton police. Inexplicably, they were deemed not guilty by a jury of maybe their petrified, horrified peers that didn't want retaliation like they showed on that video of beating this man to death. But on the Ben Swan site here, cops reportedly beat up deaf man for not following orders that he couldn't hear. And on this picture, right here on benswan.com, benswann.com, it shows this guy, and he's, you know the white parts of the eyes? What is that, your retina, your cornea, your algebra? What is that called?
Well, I guess it's the cornea. I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I
not
threw
the iris. It's not the pupil. So I guess it's the cornea.
I threw I threw algebra in there, and I know that's not accurate. I was just kidding. But the white parts of his eyes are totally blood red. Looks like a monster. 64-year-old Pearl Pearson. Let's say Pearson. 64-year-old Pearl Pearson, a deaf man, was left with bloody eyes after Oklahoma Highway Patrol officers repeatedly punched him in the face. It all started when police pulled Pearson over for fleeing the scene of a traffic accident. Pearson claims that as soon as he rolled down his window, a cop punched him directly in the face. According to a website set up for Pearson, Pearl pulled over and rolled down his window, expecting the officer to ask him his identification. An officer struck him in the face before Pearl had the chance to do anything. As you can see, he was struck multiple times. A police report, on the other hand, claims that Pearson resisted arrest. The affidavit states that Pearson refused to comply with repeated lawful orders to display his hands. Physical altercation ensued for approximately 7 minutes. Police allege they did not know Pearson was deaf, even though this fact is indicated on his license. His driver's door also has a sign on it that says, "Driver is deaf." Wow. Taken into custody for resisting arrest. And the story kind of continues. You know, it just, I don't know. I was accused of being a cop hater this week because I was posting stories about how Cicinelli and Ramos should be in jail for life, those police that murdered Kelly Thomas. And this other story here, just punch a deaf guy in the face on benswan.com from yesterday. I don't know. I mean, does it seem like there are more police abuse cases happening now? And when you hear reports of other cases of air quote resisting arrest or whatever story you're given, are you second guessing those now at this point? Because I know that I sure am.
Well, I'll be honest. That's one of the things I do try to avoid in a lot of is looking at these police brutality cases. The Kelly Thomas, of course, was an exception to that. I don't want to be in a position where I have to demonize the police. I want to be, you know, I want them to be all good people and try to see the good as much as I can. But yeah, I mean the people in Fullerton, those two guys, they straight up just murdered that guy, poor Kelly Thomas. So yeah, it's amazing that they got off on it. It just shows you the level of corruption they have in California. Whether that jury was intimidated or bought off, I don't know. But those guys should absolutely be doing some jail time. I don't like to think about throwing people away and forever, but that was just way over the top. And yeah, I wouldn't even feel safe in California. I know that's where you reside.
Yep.
It just seems like most of the cases I hear are from there, and I don't know the police where they're getting these types of guys. If they're getting, if they're kind of federalizing the police, or if they're kind of making them agents of Homeland Security, and I don't know. They're not being trained. It doesn't seem like they used to be with integrity. These are supposed to be. I want good guys that want to keep the public safe, want to beat up, don't like bullies, stuff like that. But now they're militarized. I don't know if they're getting them out of the wars. From if they're getting troops that are messed up, and then they make them cops, I guess, or if they're just people that want to follow orders and beat people up, and there just seems to be like a culture of corruption, especially right there, L.A. And yeah, so just another story there. I mean, it's as bad as Rodney King all over again. It's not cool. And yeah, I'm done.
No, I just wonder now. Well, and that's what my buddy said. You don't even know what it's like until you put on the vest. He's like, "Oh, you hate cops?" I'm like, "No, just the murderous, creepy ones." Paraphrasing something like that. And I'm like, "No, I don't hate cops by any stretch." But when I was almost thrown down a flight of stairs myself, and I got thrown to another cop that got up in my face and tried to start a fight with me. If this happened at a school, I would have went to the teacher or principal and say, "This guy got up in my face and tried to fight me." And that's what I would, for the crime of standing at my friend's home with a glass of water, not swearing, not throwing batteries, bricks, or I don't know, something. What else do people, bottles
right.
or something? Just for hanging out at my buddy's place. Escalation toward violence was very easy for these people, and the guy downstairs really wanted to fight me. I just, that feeling when it happens, but. Yeah.
It's not right. They're supposed to be the good guys, and you can't have stuff like that. Otherwise, it just it ruins the integrity of the system.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm finding. But yeah, I also found another one, but I want you to take the next one here.
Well, if you want to stay on that same subject, go ahead. If you want to make another. If we're on the same subject, go ahead and before I switch subjects. You got a little blurb, a little brief, no, or else I can take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brief. I mean, it's not. It's
all right. Okay, I'll switch it then real quick. It'll be kind of in the ballpark here. Here's a very, very alarming story put out by Michael Snyder today. It's called "Why Are Dozens of High-Ranking Officers Being Purged from the U.S. Military?"
Ah, yeah.
So, yeah, we got, since Barack Obama has been in the White House, high-ranking military officers have been removed from their positions at a rate that is absolutely unprecedented. Things have gotten so bad that a number of retired generals are publicly speaking out about the purge of the U.S. military that they believe is taking place. So throughout world history, whatever comes next after a military purge is never good. And if this continues, what is the U.S. military going to look like in a few years? So this kind of goes over. This actually just names the name of all the major generals, commanding admirals, naval officers fired. So what is going on, and what are they perhaps planning? It leads to all kinds of questions. I don't know, I'm not really a big fan of our foreign policy and some of the warmongering that goes on, so I'm kind of curious if the administration is just trying to find the right people that will follow orders and, I don't know, kind of click with the ideology, or ends justify the means. Maybe not so much, the people that we want to have that are constitutional and uphold their oaths. So, some pretty scary stuff that we have to look into and start asking questions, because where does this go?
Yeah, that one is weird. It reminds me, the Lindsey Graham with the nuke could go off on the shore of, what was it, Charleston?
Yeah, that is, Charleston Harbor in South Carolina, and saying that it could be done by Syria or Al Qaeda or whatever. There was the idea, and that's a confirmed story. The media has never come out and debunked that, or even attempted to debunk that. They won't even touch it. And yes, there was a Air Force base in Dallas, Texas. They took some of the nuclear weapons, I've heard, between 1 and 3, supposedly on their way to South Carolina. Then Lindsey Graham had that bizarre speech. And, is it possible we have some absolute crazy people in the military, or enough people, or crazy people at the top that are commanding the military, that are trying to see if they would actually, would they actually set off a nuke to be used to justify an attack on, whoever it supposedly came from, say, if it came from, it just happened to be some agent of Assad and Al Qaeda, and now we have to go into a war with Syria because they nuked our harbor.
They tried like hell to get us into Syria. They tried like hell.
Yeah, and so that could be the reason for the purge, is they're going to find the people that will follow the orders. So, yeah, you're exactly right. They really, really wanted that war in Syria. And would they actually nuke something, hurt some more people, just to sort of manufacture a type of Pearl Harbor type of event that's going to get everybody to forget about the economy and forget about all the other stuff going on and forget about partisan politics and just immediately, now we got to go to war and blah, blah, blah. I hope not, but that looks like it was a possibility.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, this appears to be pretty current here. Remember Adam Kokesh?
Oh, yeah, I tweeted that out. There's a story on the Activist Post on about that. Yeah, good news. So, yeah, go ahead.
It says on Friday, Adam Kokesh, an anarchist gun rights activist, was handed down his sentence from a July 4th incident last year when he uploaded a YouTube video of himself with a loaded shotgun near the White House. "I protest because I believe it's everyone's right," he said, standing next to his attorney. "I made an error in judgment. I am here because I take responsibility. I will be happy to refrain from civil disobedience." According to the Washington Post, Judge Patricia A. Broderick said she sentenced Kokesh to a year in jail, but suspended the jail time in favor of probation because he had adhered to court orders since his release in November. Kokesh was also credited the 120 days he had spent in jail. So, what do you make of that one?
I gotta say it's mostly positive news. I mean, I think it actually is positive, because I was concerned about that. He pulled off kind of a stupid stunt. Whatever. I'm not even holding it that much against him, but then the government just totally overreacted because he loaded a shotgun in a place where you're not supposed to. It was just a stunt, civil disobedience, but it wasn't worth getting thrown in jail for a few months for. That was a pretty major story back then. We weren't really sure what was going to happen. And something very weird happened with his attorney that he had for a long time. That was the guy who had, protected him. Because he's a major activist. He performs acts of civil disobedience. He's known for that. He's a former, he used to have a show on Russia Today. And he's also got a podcast and his own little alternative media network over there. Good guy, great ally to have, and it was a shame that he was, that all that stuff happened, and I'm just glad that he's out, and it could have been a lot worse, a couple years of probation rather than, getting stuck into a hole like, Barrett Brown or something like that. So, no, I'd say, yeah, you gotta take the positive, so hopefully he'll fire up his podcast again and get back to normal. He just won't be able to have any firearms for a couple of years, I guess.
Interesting. All right, moving on past that update. What do you got?
Let's see. How about...
Well, let me tell you something.
It's interesting. Just quickly, of course, we've got the interesting article by Paul Joseph Watson talking about why Obama's dubious promise to end the NSA surveillance is meaningless. And then we also kind of dovetail that with they picked a crony to lead the NSA probe. So you've got President Obama needs help. You can always turn to one of the, I guess it's a George Soros-funded Inner Circle, whatever. So in a speech, he announced that John Podesta will lead a comprehensive review of the big data and privacy following the NSA privacy scandal that has dogged his administration. So, yeah, John Podesta is he's the founder of the Liberal Center for American Progress. They get big funding from George Soros. So it's the what do they call it? The fox guarding the hen house type of thing. So you've got looks like they got somebody just to kind of like controlled person you want to try to make it look like you're, I guess, going to oversee the NSA, or I don't know. So I mean, this is weird because they had a lady for the IRS scandal. The FBI is kind of like trying to close down their investigation for the IRS, and one of the people that they had to lead the investigation was a Obama supporter, major donor. And now they've got another, basically a pro-Obama guy to, I guess, get involved here with the overlooking the NSA here. So it's really pretty sad. So I think there was an interesting comment somewhere about this. Hey, why not put Hillary in charge of investigating Benghazi? Or it's like putting Eric Holder in charge of the AP investigation. It's absolutely ridiculous that they get all these their own people to investigate their scandals. So, or Lois Lerner investigating the IRS scandal, Eric Holder investigating Fast and Furious. These are a couple of top comments I found on this article. So, and it's just right open, right in your face, and it's pretty. It'd be amusing if it wasn't so tragic.
Yeah. 2014 midterm elections are coming up. I don't know, maybe some of the big government progressives in both parties could get thrown out. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll certainly see how that develops. That looks like to be, if they try to run on like Obamacare, yeah, that will be the case. So unless there's some kind of miracle, then people start signing up for Obamacare in droves. I don't see that happening. But anybody that's going to get out and I don't know how you would try to run against somebody and you're going to try to defend Obamacare. That's going to be that's really going to work against them. So they're going to try to figure something out, a different approach between now and November. Or yes, they could be a lot of changes happening in Washington on Capitol Hill.
Well, talk about a different approach. This one came out here. This is unprecedented. A man has been sent to jail after a drone has been used in his arrest. This is the first American to serve time following an arrest made possible by a domestic drone. For the first time, In the history of the United States, a man has been sentenced to jail for an arrest made possible by the use of a drone. Rodney Brossart was arrested in 2011 for refusing to relinquish 6 cows that had wandered onto his property. After a 16-hour standoff with the Grand Forks, North Dakota SWAT team. Oh, there's so much wrong with this story already. You got SWAT team called in for cows. Okay. Police called in a Predator drone. Even better. Hopefully it was armed. Police called in a Predator drone on loan from the Department of Homeland Security's Customs and Border Patrol. Are they defining the borders of what a cow may do? The drone located Brossart and his 3 armed sons, then notified police of the opportune time to step in and make an arrest. Brossart's defense attorney, Bruce Quick, attempted to make the case that the use of the drone was unlawful on the grounds that police did not have judicial approval or a warrant to use the machine. A federal judge disagreed in 2012 after it concluded that the use of the drone appeared to have no bearing on these charges being contested here. And yesterday, a jury upheld the judge's decision, finding Brossart guilty of terrorizing police. Also on Tuesday, the EFF, or Electronic Frontier Foundation, revealed that the Customs and Border Patrol had lent out its Predator drone 700 times between 2010 and 2012. You think they'd loan it to me? Hey, I wanna borrow this. I want to see what my neighbor's suntanning about. I mean, if she has my 6 cows. To a number of different agencies, including loaning it to Immigrations and Customs Enforcement and the Drug Enforcement Agency, among other state and local law enforcement groups. However, the Brossart case remains the only one thus far in which law enforcement has admitted to using a drone. What are your thoughts on that, Blake? We're gonna see more of this, right?
It's an interesting question because it was, up until that was the first major case on that. Because before that, it was kind of like a conspiracy theory, like, oh, they don't use drones domestically. But then it was like, what? They're using it in North Dakota for a few cows. So
after the SWAT team couldn't accomplish it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if this guy is holed in with his sons or whatever, I don't know exactly the situation there, and maybe it was unethical. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to gather information on that one. It's very strange, or if the guy was within his rights because these cows allegedly came on his property a few times, and then by some obscure law he now owns them. Something I kind of heard secondhand. But
isn't that what they say in countries where you can own people still? Like where those backward places where like the wives can't show their faces and they're not allowed to speak and they basically become property. Well, she wandered onto my property. I don't know why my Arabic accent sounds southern all of a sudden.
Right.
I don't know why that's gonna happen, but hey, she wandered onto my property, so she's mine now. She's mine now.
Sounds fair to me, Brian.
I
think we should enact laws like that.
Hey, Sharia's on its way, baby. That's what some people say. That's what some people say. That's what this president wants. That's why he goes on in front of the United Nations, President Barack Obama, and he apologizes for the First Amendment. Well, we have this thing called the First Amendment here, and man, they just give this awful hate speech. It's unfortunately the law, but I'm not dictator of the world yet. So just give me some time, and I'll try to work this out. I'm loosely paraphrasing that because that's not what he said at all.
Sure. Well, but speaking of, I think you're warm though. We can kind of dovetail this into Obama's announcing his plan to rule by executive order. That was some of the hot stories this week, and I think it was even one of the top stories on the 5. I think I tuned in the other day. I wanted to see their how they reacted to their the bit from the Daily Show this week. I don't know if you caught any of that, Brian.
No, not as much.
Oh, okay. Samantha Bee doing the they're kind of doing a spoof on the 5. Some performance art. It was pretty interesting, and they were getting the 5, and then the 5 responded, and so I happened to tune in, and they were talking about the Obama, and of course he had an interesting quote this week talking about how he's got a pen and he's got a phone. And so, I guess
hold on, I got it.
Congress.
I got it. I know what he has.
Go ahead.
Ring, 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 Obama phone.
Oh yes. can forget the great Obama phone lady?
Of course.
And the remix, that was even better. The remix spoof jingle was really good too. But side issue, so yeah, we've got, I'll turn to this InfoWars article here. Obama announces plan to rule by executive order. Obama has officially announced plans to trash the Constitution and move forward with the socialist, corporatist dictatorship without input from Congress or the American people, and he made the announcement Tuesday during a cabinet meeting. And I'm guessing that's where he made that quote, which was all over right-wing media. And he said, we're not just going to be waiting for legislation in order to make sure that we're providing Americans the kind of help they need. I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward in helping to make sure our kids are getting the best education possible, making sure that our businesses are getting the kind of support and help they need to grow and advance, to make sure that people are getting the skills that they need to get those jobs that our businesses are creating. They're creating a ton of jobs, and they just can't fill them because of Congress. So I guess he's just going to have to pass executive orders, Brian. Show them how it's done.
Yeah.
But, so Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution clearly states that all legislative powers reside with Congress. The founders were inspired by the writings of Montesquieu and insisted on 3 separate branches of government and instituted a system of checks and balances to prevent tyranny. Here's the quote from, was it Montesquieu? There can be no liberty where the legislative and executive powers are united in the same person. So, yeah, it kind of goes on to show you George Washington, James Madison. It's really the government wasn't founded on this. Now, yeah, Congress is awful. They've got a 6% approval rating. But, Obama, you can't use executive orders like this. It's not a dictatorship, and he seems to be trying to set a precedent, and it needs to be curbed and stopped. So we have checks and balances for a reason.
Well, but as long as it's to protect the kids, right?
Yeah, because the education is going so well, because he cares so much.
Because they don't have maps.
Artie Duncan's a great guy.
Because they don't have maps in the Iraq. They don't have maps. Remember when Miss Teen USA? No, but that's the calling card every time there's an issue with a gun, there's an issue with executive order, here's the reply every time. Here's what you're going to hear every time.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Over and over and over.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
That's from The Simpsons. That's was it Helen Lovejoy maybe? Anyway, yeah, that's the calling cry every time. Well, I got to protect the children, so no more Second Amendment. Well, got to protect the children, so I'm just going to rule by fiat. I'm just going to sign things and avoid the legislative branch and the judicial branch of our tri-corner hat, which is our American style of governance. No, it's pretty insane, Blake. I got to agree with that. Wait, did I lose you? Hold on, I think I lost Blake. Blake went silent, yo. Well, here, how about this? How about I bring up this one? While we're playing things, this one is interesting. Jimmy Kimmel and his thoughts on Obamacare. Take a listen.
The rollout of the Affordable Care Act continues to be terrible. First, there were technical problems with the healthcare.gov website. Now comes news that not enough young and healthy Americans are signing up for coverage, which is crucial for the success of the program. The way insurance works is you need all the young, healthy people to pay for insurance and not use it until they get old and unhealthy. And so far, only a quarter of the 2.2 million people who signed up are between 18 and 34, 24%. The White House was hoping for closer to 38%. Why they would hope that, I don't know. They expect young people to buy insurance at the same time the PlayStation 4 comes out? You know, if you want young people to sign up, maybe you shouldn't have made the law so you can stay on your parents' plan until you turn 26. I mean, what kid is going to say, you know, no thanks, Mom and Dad, I got the premiums covered. The deadline to sign up is March 31st. In my experience, if you want to get young people to do something, all you have to do is tell them specifically not to do something, right? Or give 10 free lives in Candy Crush to the first 2 million subscribers. But just to make sure the younger people do sign up, the Obama administration is rolling out a new ad campaign that's targeted specifically at the young and vibrant.
Hi, I'm Alex, and this is my wife, Martha. And we're both approaching the big 6-0.
And we have health care issues to deal with.
I take blood pressure medication.
And Levitra.
Yes, and Martha's got beta blockers and something for her osteoporosis. It's not cheap.
But fortunately, we don't have to pay for it.
No, you do.
That's right. You young people are paying for our drugs and our doctors.
Not to mention our Social Security and our Medicare when we retired at Boca. And you know why?
Because you don't vote.
And we do.
That's right. Hope you enjoyed that Burning Guy Festival.
Come on, Martha. Let's go find that Levitra.
Oh, Alex.
The Affordable Care Act. Next time, maybe pick up a newspaper.
A newspaper, FYI, is like an iPad made of trees.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. But that's really how this works. I've told people in the past, on previous shows, that I am paying, what, about $100 more per month. My health insurance plan was canceled by President Barack Obama after he lied directly to my face, what, 6 or 8 times? If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. Lie. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Period. Another lie. So those are just a couple of the lies, but now I have to pay for children's pediatric dental insurance for kids that I don't have. Yes, kids I don't have. And I think that's just snazzy. Let me just tell you, I think it's snazzy. So yeah, the Obamacare thing is still a disaster. It's still a train wreck. And Blake is texting me, what happened? I got cut off. I don't know the answer, so let's bring him back on. We'll try that again.
Hello.
Yeah, you're back on. I don't know what happened either. Maybe the NSA didn't like it that we were being a little critical of them.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. So I just played a Jimmy Kimmel little funny thing.
Upper.
Yeah,
oh,
about
yeah,
Obamacare.
He was in the news with the the Obama. Yep, that was good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know. I kind of forget where we were at. Where you were at. We were talking about Obama phone.
We're talking about executive orders from
right.
Obama abusing his power, acting like he can just, he's got a pen and a phone, so he can do whatever he wants. And if he doesn't get his way and Congress doesn't agree, then he'll make it happen on his own, trying to set a precedent. So, anyway, I think that's, I don't really know what else to add to that. It just needs. We've got Obama's latest comments on the plan to impose executive decrees, as usual, for the sake of the children. Just as you said, Brian, sets the stage for the next phase of dictatorial government and the dismantlement of the Constitution and its relegation to the dustbin of history.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Yes, in a scathing article by Kurt Nimmo. So, but that also goes into, the blaze. I don't want to repeat information, but, basically being just as critical, not caring for that. That's not the way we do things. So,
yeah, it's pretty unreal.
That's it, Brian. If you want to take the reins here, you got another story?
I'm interested about Vladimir Putin stressing their gay propaganda law. Very interesting, because I do a sports show, and Putin has kind of punked President Obama on multiple occasions, it sure seems. Right. But it's just really funny. Putin says, we aren't banning anything, we aren't rounding up anyone, we have no criminal punishment for such relations. One can feel relaxed and at ease. But please, leave the children in peace.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
That's his quote. He's saying, but please leave the children in peace. He emphasized that because of a Russian law banning gay propaganda among minors, they cannot express their views on gay rights issues to anyone under age. Putin appeared to lump homosexuality and pedophilia together. I wonder if that Phil Robertson Is that the guy's name, that duck guy?
Yep.
Yeah, Phil Robertson and Putin. I wonder if they're best pals.
I don't know. I mean, that Phil Robertson lives out in lives in a bubble in the bayou, so I don't really care what his views on that stuff are. And I think it's a likable show, and he's a decent guy, and I don't really care what a 60-some person thinks about. I forget. It wasn't even like a harsh comment. He's not against them. He just. He's got a limited understanding, and it's not even worth trying to explain. It's not a big deal. I didn't find it offensive at all. But, the community got outraged and tried to get on A&E, and it just ended up blowing up in their face anyway because nothing actually happened.
Oh, by the way, NSA, by the way, I know because you're listening, when we say blow up in their faces, that's not, you don't actually need to flag this. We're talking metaphorically.
Right.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I find it interesting that Vladimir Putin, who's always half naked and shirtless, is really pushing this gay propaganda thing. I mean, it almost seems like he's in a West Hollywood ad for "Get tested, it's the thing to do," or something like that. Like I could just imagine him in a, I don't know, are there gay commercials, specifically gay commercials or anything I can think of? I'm not thinking of any, Blake. But it seems like you could see him in slow motion riding on horseback, shirtless, like in Brokeback Mountain or something, you know?
Yeah, I think they've done some similar jokes on the Daily Show about that. Yeah, showing him in his shirtless on the horse and stuff like that. Yeah, he's a character. I got to give him that. But I don't know. There's definitely a lot of outrage. That just the reality that there are gay people in the world. There are gay athletes, and he's hosting the Olympics, so he's going to have to change his tune a little bit about that and kind of see the if he wants, I guess. He says stuff like he's not comfortable with sending children to America to be adopted because he will not let them be adopted by gay couples, and I can understand that.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Yes, of course.
Right. So, I think he's fighting a losing battle, but there's other issues, so we'll see how that continues to develop.
How do you
it's coming up pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, how do you pronounce it? Sochi?
I'll say Sochi. I don't really know.
I'm going to go with Sochi for now. I mean, Putin says we have no ban on non-traditional sexual relations. We have a ban on propaganda of homosexuality and pedophilia. I want to underline that. On propaganda among minors.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Well, at least Vladimir Putin is thinking of the children. All right, I'm going to bounce it back to you, Blake.
Yeah, he's a traditional guy, and there are some weird things going on in, like, Chicago school systems where they're getting, teaching things to young children that they don't need to be learning about at that age. So, and part of that I can agree with. But, side issue, let's get back. I've only got one other major story, I think, going on for this week, at least, that I definitely, we both of us need to highlight here, and that is the ongoing threat of Fukushima. It looks like the radiation has now finally reached the West Coast. A lot of scary developments going on there. People with Geiger counters running around, picking up unusual amounts of radiation, a lot higher than it should be. Of course, it was expected that the Fukushima disaster would hit our shores in early 2014. Looks like it is here, and there is just a massive cover-up going on. Interesting stories. One of them is I'm looking at from a Don Salazar. Yeah, they let a lot of InfoWars. The crew were out on the West Coast in like Portland, San Francisco, and San Diego. They made their rounds down the West Coast checking for radiation. The highest they found was some place in San Francisco called Surfers Bay, where the radiation was incredibly high, and they were saying they really should put up signs warning people because they got people, that go out and hang out on the beach. And they've even encountered a story where there was a surfer who was surfing there regularly, and he was losing his hair, yet he was still surfing, like they were just oblivious to this. You've had a mass sardine die-off on the West Coast, but the scientists are just baffled. They don't know where it's coming from or how would that happen. Even Discovery Channel put out a bit today, or not today, but this was 2 days ago, January 15th. The Discovery Channel posted a YouTube video urging its viewers to ignore the trolls and the fear-mongerers and stop worrying about Fukushima radiation. And they've got testimony from like fishermen, going through the Pacific Ocean and just finding it's like a dead zone, and they're not seeing the fish and sea life like they're accustomed to. So something's going on. Radiation levels are rising. They're not quite at a level where it's like, oh my God, it's mega alarming. We're all going to have to evacuate the West Coast. But it's time for the media to stop covering it up. Brian, I'll let you speak.
Nah, I mean, that's why do I not have a handheld device yet?
Dude, they're expensive. I went to John B. Wells' website, the caravan2midnight.com, and I looked at those devices, and they're like $400 or $500 for those Geiger counters. I was thinking, if I could pick one up for like $30 or something, that'd be worth it, because I'm a big. I've kind of gotten into sushi in the last few years, and
is that where the Olympics is going to be held in Sushi, Russia? Is that how you pronounce that?
Perhaps. That's interesting, Ryan. I'll look into that. But no, okay. But so I don't know. Now I'm like afraid to go buy this stuff because I'm not really sure where it's where they're getting their fish from. So I kind of want to pull a Geiger counter into the grocery store or wherever, and then test the stuff so I don't get sick on it. But who knows? So they're pretty expensive little devices there. So that's not going to happen. But I did purchase some iodine, some nascent iodine, which seems to be some pretty interesting stuff. So for people out on the West Coast, it's probably a very good idea to be aware of this story, dig into it, and perhaps purchase some iodine. Now, the government, in fact, our U.S. government, and they kind of even very quietly purchased over, I think it was 14 million doses of potassium iodine. And then they were kind of acting like they didn't, they're playing dumb with the media when they were questioned about it. So there is something going on. There is concern. This problem with Fukushima isn't going away, and it might not go away for thousands, if not millions of years with the way radiation works. So, we could be looking at an extinction-type level of event, and the media is just eerily silent. So, there are alternative media out there, like I just mentioned, InfoWars, that are reporting on it, so I encourage everyone to go dig into that. In fact, Brian, unless you want to get a word in, I got another story dovetailing that.
No, go ahead. I think I'm out of words and stories.
All right. Well, the Activist Post had a very interesting story. It's called "Why Obama Won't Admit Fukushima Radiation is Poisoning Americans: Connecting the Dots." And just to kind of maybe summarize, those generators, those nuclear reactors or whatever in Fukushima, were made by General Electric, and they weren't very good. And some of the scientists that were involved with the project resigned because they didn't want to be associated with these things. So they aren't very good. And they've got other GE nuclear reactors that are all over the country. So they're not known as the most stable. And of course, General Electric is a big campaign contributor to Obama. So there could be something going on there. It's just it's an interesting theory. Let's see here. Yeah, we all know the radiation from the stricken Fukushima plant has spread around the globe and is poisoning people worldwide. Yeah, they say this is at least 10 times worse than Chernobyl, and there's a lot of people that have gotten cancer from that. And it says, we all know the west coast of the United States is being polluted with radioactive debris, and that the oceans, the beaches that border them, and even the air is becoming more polluted by the radioactivity as time goes on. So you have to ask yourself why the government won't admit this. It's not like a disaster half a world away is their fault, is it? Or is it? Could the United States government have done something to prevent the situation getting to this point? So, they're saying the United States and General Electric knew that Fukushima was a disaster waiting to happen. They did nothing to prevent it. Yeah, I mean, it's possible General Electric, if they're complicit in something and part of the cover-up, I guess they could get sued. And I don't know if it's actually a little bit longer than I thought. So I don't know if I can cherry pick enough of this stuff, but I encourage people to go check this out. How about, I'll finish this article just at the very end here. The President of the United States should be explaining what is causing all of the fish die-offs if it is unconnected to radiation. And yeah, there is another article. I was reading a Michael Snyder article earlier, and he also wrote about the military purge and all the commanders that were dismissed or fired. But he also made one about 36 signs Fukushima is getting worse or something like that. And it shows all the animals, like the starfish are exploding, and they've got like polar bears and seals that have lesions and losing their hair, mass fish die-offs. I just mentioned the sardine ones. So we've got Obama knows that millions of Americans are being poisoned due in part to a failure of American technology. I recognize that the earthquake and tsunami were forces of nature, but the damage sustained could have been reduced considerably by not using the Mark I. They're just talking about how bad that reactor is. It's like they used a Pinto and they should have used something a little bit more reliable, a Datsun or something like that, if we're going to use old cars for an analogy. But a little smoother engine than the GE one, so is this coming back to haunt? So I don't know if they had built a better reactor, this could have been preventable. But the last paragraph here, he says, I understand that these reactors were not installed on Obama's watch, but he's there now. He's the one that can make the difference now. It is he who can look into the nuclear power stations on American soil in the hopes of preventing a meltdown here. Now, our nuclear power stations are old, past their sell date in some cases, and it's not just some of the reactors of the problem either. They got one called Hanford and Columbia River in Washington State's leaking radioactive liquid into the ground. And the situation in Fukushima is still far from stable, and it will be years before stability is even on the horizon. Something has to be done before one of our aging power stations starts Fukushima Part 2. And so, yeah, not only are these reactors, past their prime and old and need repairs and might not be that good anyway, but, I mean, if something happens to our power grid, say an EMP blast, whether it's caused by a terrorist or caused from the sun, that could also have a major problem with the nuclear reactors. So, yeah, maybe it's time to start finding some alternative sources of energy, because this nuclear stuff isn't worth it in case anything goes wrong, and it would be unfortunate if our whole planet our planet went extinct because of Fukushima and a media cover-up and them not doing anything about it. But I'll shut up, Brian. I think I'm done.
No, I actually... Why can't we just unite on something? Why can't we just work on this? I think Fukushima is one of the biggest stories that the mainstream media is not covering, the dinosaur media. I don't get it. I want it to change. And all we can do is keep covering the latest and keep asking people to retweet and resend it, embed, circulate, participate, comment on all this stuff. I said I have nothing left. I have two more quick ones I just wanted to go over real quick, and then I got it. This one says, out of Fox News, the Environmental Protection Agency has told, the same EPA that's not really actively giving us the truth with Fukushima. The EPA has told farmers and ranchers it is sorry for handing private information about them over to environmental groups. But agriculture advocates who fear attacks from eco-terrorists say it's like closing the barn door after the horses escaped. In response to the Freedom of Information request, the federal agency released information on up to 100,000 agriculture industry workers, including their home address, phone numbers, GPS coordinates, and even medical or personal medical histories. The agency later acknowledged much of the information should never have been provided and even asked the recipients to give it back. So this is from the category of this is why I don't want all my information given to anyone, ever, for any reason, ever, especially the federal government. Ever.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, they're having issues there, or with the Obamacare website they call the hacker's dream. So, yeah, no, can't. This is pretty much everything our forefathers warned us about. The dangers of having a large government.
One more thing about the dangers of a large government. If you think the NSA isn't reading your text messages, you're sadly mistaken. This is I have not been on Ben Swann's site in a while, and man, it's just good information here. Based on top-secret data leaked by Edward Snowden, the NSA collects 200 million text messages a day from across the globe, using them to extract data, including your location, your contact networks, passwords, and credit card details, etc. The NSA program, codenamed Dishfire, collects pretty much everything it can, according to documents from the UK spy agency GCHQ, rather than merely storing the communications of existing surveillance targets. The NSA has tapped its vast database to get info in people's travel plans, contact lists, financial transactions, and more, including people under no suspicion of illegal activity who may want to be blackmailed in the future. I'm adding that. On average, each day, the NSA was able to extract more than 5 million missed call alerts for use in contact chaining analysis, which works out someone's social network from whom they contact and when. Details of 1.6 million border crossings a day from network roaming alerts, more than 110,000 names from electronic business cards, which also include the ability to extract and save images, and over 800,000 financial transactions either through text-to-text payments or linking credit cards to phone users. So this is the reason why I don't want anyone to know anything about me ever, because you can give it over to enemies, or, you know what, it could be used at a later date against me, Blake. Tell me why I'm crazy.
No, the government cares about you. They are just looking out for you and making sure, you're free from terrorists and that you're not a terrorist.
Right.
That's it. I'm sure. There's nothing to worry about. Very crazy. So they're collecting 200 million text messages a day. I don't know. I mean, I think, Brian, we probably pretty much agree that if there's some bad people in the world and there's, might be up to no good and maybe need to be watched or looked at, then I don't have an issue with, some agency like the NSA to, collect information and keep us safe so someone doesn't do anything crazy. But, I mean, just the bulk collection of just everything, you start to really, put together everyone's profile. I mean, it's amazing what they could possibly know about it. They probably know more about us than we know about ourselves, and that's pretty scary.
I mean, our
thought,
GPS locations, every time we tend to get in our vehicle and go to XYZ location where we may work or work out or go shopping, and the patterns of that, you ever want to break into somebody's home, you have it. All you got to do is bust into that activity. Or when all of the electric grid is converted over to smart meters, you find out when there's no electric usage, when people leave, when they turn the lights off or when they turn the computers off. Oh, okay, he's gone during these times on these particular days. That's when I break in. There's a million reasons why nobody needs any of this information, and I am. This government needs to be prosecuted. The Fourth Amendment is crystal clear. Our founding fathers they knew the danger of people having this information. They didn't maybe not necessarily dream that GPS coordinates could tell you exactly the patterns of behavior that you would need to inflict damage on a target, but they knew the dangers of it. I mean, this administration needs to be prosecuted under the Fourth Amendment. I mean, this is a high crime and a misdemeanor. This is beyond that. This is just a blatant violation of trust. This is insane that's not being upheld. It's crystal clear to read the Fourth Amendment. I posted this out. It was sent from Late Night at Jimmy Fallon on our Facebook page. It says, the NSA looks at 200 million text messages every day. Or, as teens eating dinner with their family put it, ha, lightweights.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
Right. Well, I guess the good news is that Obama did speak about that today, Brian. So don't you feel reassured by that?
Actually, you know what? You make a great point. I'm done. Nothing else to see here. I'm gonna finish watching the Cavs game.
Interesting. Against Paul Joseph Watson today. Yes. Barack Obama will call for an end to the NSA's warrantless collection of telephone metadata, but his words will be completely meaningless, given that the president has broken virtually every promise he's ever made. So, So, Patriot Act. He's going to overturn unconstitutional executive orders. He's going to close Guantanamo.
I'm not going to sign the National Defense Authorization Act.
You like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. You can, Extension Act. We'll give signed off on NDAA. What else? Yeah, pretty much. Just cherry picking through this article. Oh yeah, the attack on Libya. Don't need congressional approval for strikes. These just a handful of the innumerable promises that Obama has broken. To believe he has any interest in ending warrantless NSA surveillance is woefully naive and merely another act to create the perception of transparency when his administration has in fact pursued the exact opposite at every turn.
Awesome.
All right.
I'm glad that's our head coach.
Right. Well, he didn't know, but I'm sure he didn't know about any of this stuff until he read it in the paper, until somebody had brought it to his attention.
Fantastic.
Very good. All right.
Well, that's all I have on my radar at this point.
Yeah, I think that concludes the highlights I have for the week, and it was a very exciting week for news, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's up next week, of course.
Yeah, it's kind of a wacky week in sports, and I'm looking forward to the divisional championship rounds before the Super Bowl here. And yeah, By the way, you lost that bet. Remember I bet you with the Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings, so you got to come out to Los Angeles. Remember that one?
Right. Well, I thought we were, maybe put that on tap for maybe early February.
All right. Well,
we can discuss that. Yes, that's right. I owe you a beer somewhere in Hollywood.
you owe me a drink, and I said I'll take Louis the 14th in a fishbowl.
13th, right.
Louis the 13th. Actually, Louis the 14th is one better than Louis the 13th. I don't know. I got nothing. I'll take a fishbowl of Louis the 13th, and I can buy a little RV with it. I've seen them.
I've seen them in like movies. I've never seen one in real life. But
we used to play. Our band used to play at this bar called Nate and Wally's Fishbowl.
Nice, good name.
Yeah, in Bowling Green, Ohio. Well, actually, they got the name of our band wrong. We were called Twist of Nothing. And in the newspaper, they advertise it Twisted Nothing. So I called them up. I'm like, hey, man, I'm glad you put the ad in there. That's really cool. But, it's Twist of Nothing, not Twisted Nothing. And I forget who I was talking to. And they were like, well, it doesn't matter. It's not like anyone knows who you are anyway. I'm like, oh, really? Because you're a brand new bar that just opened up. So, I mean, Blake, I'm telling you, I was this close. And that doesn't translate on radio well, but I have my fingers very close together. I was this close to making up a batch of flyers where Twist of Nothing was performing at Nick and Willie's Dog Bowl. Yeah, Nick and Willie's Dog Bowl instead of Nate and Wally's Fishbowl. And I still call it Nick and Willie's Dog Bowl at this point. But anyway, I digress. Yes, give
holding
me
a grudge all these years later.
Yeah, well, don't bring up LeBron James or Art Modell, and I'll be okay.
I'm tempted, but I'll let it go. So.
Yeah, it's been a weird week in the news is the point I'm getting at here. But
some of the Ravens aren't in the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, Lord, don't even say my Ravens, but yeah. Hooray. My former coach, Bill Belichick, is there. But anyway, I still digress. I want to thank you again because some of these stories definitely would have slipped under my radar had you not brought them to my attention. And the way that you do that is you send them out on Facebook, you do that on Twitter. So take a second, remind everybody where they can check out your radio shows, how to connect with you, and make sure that they don't miss the stories that you find while scouring the bowels of the Internet.
Right, yeah, the best place to find me where I'm definitely active nearly every single day, putting out top stories, finding highlights. Like I said, I'm a news junkie. I try to find everything I can that's interesting and tweet it out. So Eccentric99 is the place to follow me. And I do have a radio show Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday on freedomizerradio.com. And you can also, find the archive on Blog Talk Radio. Or the easiest way would just be pull up your iPhone and then just go to iTunes and look up Eccentric Perspective, and you can subscribe to the podcast there. And that is about, I think that pretty much covers it. I've got a website at eccentricperspective.com, but I haven't updated it in a long time. But if you've never seen it before, it's definitely worth checking out. And that's all I've got, so thank you, Brian. pleasure, as always.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks again. Appreciate your time. We'll be talking again soon. Good luck on your next show on Monday. Be sure everybody checks it out. FreedomizerRadio.com. The Eccentric Perspective.
Ben Swan is on Wednesday, by the way.
Oh, you got him?
Yeah.
It has been too long. I got to... Thank you for reminding me. Ben's been on my list for a long time. And Mark Claire wants to get him on a podcast with Lions of Liberty, too.
Yeah, no, he's, try to reach out. He's a good guy, so...
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of getting it done. You know, we've talked with so many cool guests over the past year, and it's like, you know, sometimes it's just the matter of reaching out and making sure that the to-do list actually gets done. You know, Ben's been on there since, God, I'm trying to remember the last time we talked to them. When did he do his launch with his website? Shortly after 4th of July?
6 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, somewhere around there. So, I'm going to have to ask him some questions about that.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, launching a new media adventure, so we'll be curious.
All right, everybody, we'll definitely check out Ben Swan. We'll be Blake, the Eccentric Walley's guest on The Eccentric Perspective between noon and 1:30 p.m. Pacific on FreedomizerRadio.com. All right, Blake, thank you again for your time. You have a great weekend, sir. I'll be talking with you soon.
You too.
All right, peace.
All right, peace.
There goes Blake, the Eccentric Walley, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. A lot of stuff going on in the news. It took a lot out of me with this Kelly Thomas verdict. That's why I devoted a separate segment to it. I also did a podcast with Lions of Liberty, the podcast with Mark Claire over there. Make sure you follow those guys, Lions of Liberty, along with Eccentric Perspective and Freedomizer Radio. Ben Swan, you know, all of us cats. I love it. I love that we're coming up as the new media, the new American media, as it were, because it's time. It's time for some fresh blood, some fresh ideas, some new voices, and just being really connected with this group of people. It's very inspiring. So check out what they're all up to. Please make sure you check out our stuff. Our homepage is called thenewamericanmedia.com. I certainly encourage you to go over there. On YouTube, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Please click subscribe and share some content, embed some videos, leave some comments, add them to your personal playlist, share them with your friends. On Facebook, search The New American Media with spaces in between and like our page. That'd be fantastic. And on Twitter, we're at American_media_. So my name is Brian Engelman, signing out, thanking special guest Rob Troutman for joining us today with Sports on Tap on the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Please check that out. Special thanks to Blake the Eccentric Walley, and special thanks to all of you for listening. I'll be back as soon as huge, crazy breaking news occurs, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Peace.
You are listening to The New American Media.